there's been a lot of talk with Pistons fans with this upcoming season. Obviously, for the most part, we know what the roster is going to be. So my question to you is, how many games can you see the Pistons winning this season?
30, which might seem high to some people. I mean, what's Vegas has us at 25.5 right now. I think 30 is really realistic, but I could see a world where it's as high as 32, 33, and they're fighting for a play-in. And I can also see a world where it's 24, 25, because towards the end of the year, we're not where we want to be. And they want to, play it safe, take some guys out of the rotation like we have for the past 4 years at the end of the year. So I think like 30 is a fair number. I think that the guys that we signed in the offseason might not be the dudes that jump off the page as far as names go. Tobias Harris, Beasley, etc., Paul Reed, THJ. But the fact of the matter is that they're replacing guys who a lot of them won't be having NBA rotation minutes this upcoming season. We're talking Killian, Wiseman, even Kevin Knox, Isaiah Livers, and a lot of those guys I liked, especially as people. I believe in their future as players, but when you're replacing those project players with dudes like Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, who have proven to be guys who show up, compete, play 70-plus games per year, relatively healthy, contribute to good teams, I think that's enough to make a bigger jump than people are giving them credit for. It feels a lot like the Houston Rockets situation last year when they signed a couple vets and everyone's like, what are they doing that for? And then all of a sudden they make a big jump. It feels like that to me. Maybe there's a little homerism kicking in there to feel that strongly about it. But I just think that with what they did this offseason and what they lost this offseason, I think 30 wins is possible.
I do too. I think a lot of things have to go right for them to win 30 games. Health, for sure, has to be like the number one thing that I think we have to talk about, because going from 14 to 30 wins is a huge jump. And I think if, the Pistons go from 14 to 30, people would probably like throw JB Bickerstaff's name in Coach of the Year, just because the Pistons were a national just clown show last year. Every day on ESPN, they were just saying, like, what's wrong with the Pistons? Monty Williams is a good coach. Must be the Pistons' fault. Like, never taking accountability when maybe, Monty didn't want to be there. Maybe his heart wasn't into it. Coaching with the Pistons, because we saw it out there. We're like, why are we running an all-bench lineup again? Doesn't work. Like, just stuff like that. But I think 30 wins isn't too far off. I have them like around that 27 to 29 range personally.
For sure.
Schedule's supposed to come out, I think, either next week or the week after. I'm expecting a lot of back-to-backs. I'm expecting not a lot of nationally televised games. Last season was brutal. It was. I personally think, though, around that 27 to 30 win range wouldn't really surprise me. But in the back of my brain, I could totally see them, waving the white flag for Cooper flag towards the end of the season. I think a lot of teams are going to do that. I know the Pistons have been kind of like shafted in the lottery the past 3 years, getting fifth. But I could see them, like, let's say, maybe they're 6-7 games out of like a play-in spot. I could see them kind of having shutdown season of like injuries for the remainder of the season, and just, throwing out like two-way G League guys out there and just say like, yeah, we're not going to make the playoffs. We're not going to make the play-in. We're just going to, try to compete out there. And if we get a lucky ping pong ball, we get a lucky ping pong ball, and whatever.
Yeah. And, the heart of me is like so over that, right? Like, I'm just so tired of seeing dudes who are on two ways starting games in March and April. It's just so hard. But also the brain in me, the realistic brain in me is like, you know what? First of all, gambler's fallacy, 5th pick last year, 5th pick the year before. Who cares? The odds are the odds. And this draft class that's upcoming is actually super deep. I think that the 5th pick in this upcoming draft is more valuable than the 1st pick in the last draft. There's 5 guys on the upcoming draft where if they were to get added to this team, hypothetically a year down the road, I think would be huge. Ace Bailey, Harper, those guys. There'll be plenty of dudes on the board, even if we don't land flag. So as much as my heart hates to even think about that, it hurts to even talk about it at this point. The realism in me is like, if that's the situation where 6 games out of the play-in and there's 9 games left on the schedule, you live with it. You just do it, right?
Yeah,
Dennis Jenkins, go cook, I guess. Whatever.
Tolu Smith, you never know. Maybe he'll get that final 2-way spot, still have one available.